There are around 11 million disabled people in the UK, with less than 2 in 10 taking part in regular sport. The heart of disability sport lies with its grassroots. It's where people start, it's where they develop, and it's where they hopefully fall in love with sport.
Children experience sport probably for the first time in the school environment, and those first experiences of sport are the same for a disabled kid as they are for a non-disabled kid. If they get a bad experience, if a child who has an impairment is left on the sidelines to do something else while the rest of the class go and do whatever, then that is not the way a modern society should deliver inclusive physical education. It has to be truly inclusive from the outset.
Over 1 million people take part in disability sport across Wales on a regular basis at places such as the LC in Swansea, where world number 1 in boccia, David Smith, trains.
I was obviously lucky with the school I went to, but I know people that have maybe from a more mainstream environment, they wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to play sport. I think that's something that needs to be looked at through mainstream schools and stuff, about getting kids who have a physical disability into PE lessons and actually playing rather than sat in a corner doing maths.
I'm from down by Carmarthen, so it's quite a rural-ish area. So when I grew up, I didn't know much about other disability sports out there. I was never really told about it. Whereas people who grew up in, cities, there was more disabled sports and stuff on, so they knew more about it. And it seems to me especially in Wales, disability sport stops at Cardiff, and then nothing sort of filters down. There doesn't seem to be enough. It's either GB level sport or nothing.
Yeah.
There isn't enough sort of low level sport. Now with London 2012, I think a lot more has been publicised. I do think a lot more kids are getting into sport. And sport at the moment, especially disability sport, I think there's loads of opportunities for kids around there if you go looking.
Bradford Disability Sports runs a range of clubs and activities for over 400 disabled people with both learning difficulties and physical disabilities.
With the Sports Academy, that's aimed at guys that have got learning difficulties. So we'll be doing different sports. We'll be getting specialised coaches in and they'll do a 6-week block. So trying to start real basic level and trying to see if we can develop their skills. The Paralympic Club is more aimed at guys that have physical difficulties. Again, we try and get coaches in to try and help out, and we try and tailor that one more to sort of Olympic sports. What we're trying to do, we're trying to get our club so it's available to everybody. So we don't see there being any sort of boundaries. We want there to be sort of it's not a case of, we don't really like using the word disability, it's more a case of it's not what they can't do, but what they can do. Try and get particularly young people into sport. And guys that sort of feel that they can't do it, give them somewhere where they can do it. So that's what we're really after.
I've been coming to Paralympics Club for 3.5 years.
Okay, and what made you want to come in the first place?
Well, first of all, my brother, he had needs and he was my first opportunity. So I thought, right, where would I be? How long is this caring? They said, yeah, feel free. So yeah, the first day I came, I really enjoyed it. Favourite part of coming is learning new sports, getting involved, meeting new friends and just having a good laugh and dinner.
Sports clubs are not just there for the sport, but also to help disabled youngsters develop.
You come in after school, you've had a bad day at school, you come here and it's just, you're playing a bit of sport with friends, with people you know, and you can have a laugh, there's no pressure on you at all to do well. It builds their confidence and helps self-esteem and things like that. So some have been bullied through school and they come here and they can be themselves.
Grassroots sport is heavily reliant on volunteers and charity. For those who cannot afford equipment or don't know where to go, help is there.
Yeah, we started Get Kids Going because I used to do a lot with London Marathon, and I found that all the youngsters who came in with their wheelchairs, way before all the able-bodied runners came over the finish line, they came in with all their chairs that were strapped together and tied together, and they didn't have any equipment that was any good, and they were doing it in ordinary chairs, and it was just really, really upsetting. The aim of the charity was to encourage disabled youngsters, children and youngsters, to participate in disability sport at all levels, in any different sport, with any disability.
Get Kids Going have been incredible with me. I've been lucky enough to have all my day cheers through the charity. This gives me the freedom to do everyday chores. But day wheelchairs are very expensive, but the charity believed in me enough to help me out.
A large proportion of the disabled community is made up of those who have become disabled during their lives through accidents or illness. For those getting into sport at a later age, it is even more difficult.
Able-bodied clubs aren't welcoming to disability athletes. The only way they are is if you were a member of that club as an able-bodied kid and then acquired a disability.
Adults will have an impairment later in life. And it's a significant percentage of adults who will actually make up the disability population who weren't born with a congenital impairment. So if you've previously played sport and then you've had an accident or something has left you with an impairment, then again, that first experience of going back into a leisure centre or your sport club and how you're perceived and how you're treated is absolutely critical.
Inspire a generation. That was the motto of London Paralympics, but that ambition seems to be falling short in some eyes.
I was expecting there to be a real upturn, but it just wasn't there. The majority of the guys that have been with us for quite a while.
Many people believe more needs to be done to get all disabled children access.
When we talk about Paralympic sport, we're only talking about the tip, the very pinnacle, and that's a tiny, tiny minority. And it is still difficult for people at grassroots level to get access to facilities.
Sport has many benefits, from improving confidence, making new friends and keeping fit. But if we cannot inspire a generation when the greatest Paralympics ever has been in our own backyard, when can we?